So for maximum strength, there is an exercise called the Valsalva maneuver, which is used not just in yoga, where it's called Mula Bandha or Uddiyana Bandha with Kumbhaka, but it's also used by weightlifters. And when you see weightlifters in the Olympics, or when you watch any weightlifting, there's this thing they do where they get the weight, they hold it in their hands, and you probably know I'm not a weightlifter, and they take a breath in, and they go like this. Something like that. I said, I'm not a weightlifter. But what they're doing is this thing called the Valsalva maneuver, where they take a breath in and they hold the breath in. And that breath is then compressed inside themselves, and with that you have a tremendous increase in the energy. Now, you don't have to do that, but you'll always get that little bit of extra strength when you do that. Now, warning, if you're new to yoga, like before the first 10 years, then be very cautious. This is not something that I generally teach. But strength is increased, and if I do something like a handstand, I take a breath in, and then I do exactly what the weightlifter did. It's all done on one breath retention. Now that allowed me to have the strength, where I'm not really warmed up, no? To lift up to a handstand, and I'm not a very strong person, and fall into a back bend, and I'm quite a stiff person, believe it or not, and then be able to do a backward flip without sensing any squashing of my back, because that breath held inside me was then compressed. And that compression could then buffer my vertebrae to prevent them from squashing. It also pushed energy into my hands, physical pressure that allowed me to lift up to a handstand. The thing is, if your blood vessels are not very strong and you can't control the movement of energy and information inside yourself, you can burst a blood vessel. So you have to have very, very strong blood vessels to do this. And often people's blood vessels are constricted and congested through food and through improper diet. So this is not a beginner exercise by any means. I just wanted to show you that it is a fairly advanced exercise in yoga where breath control is essential. And actually there's no breathing involved. I just took a breath in and held my breath in. Now what I'd like to demonstrate is something which can be used to move really deep internal movements, really deep internal organ movements. And it's done on an exhalation retention. And on an exhalation retention, of course, there is no air in your lungs. And then I manipulate the muscles around my abdomen and spine and use these muscles to create tremendous internal pressures. Pressures of suction and pressures of compressive pressure and expansive pressure, which will actually help in the elimination of waste and the absorption of nutrients, and also the manipulation of my spine and the movement of energy and information through the body. This is done on an exhalation retention. And those of you who have tried holding the breath out, you know that it's fairly tricky to hold the breath out, much harder than holding the breath in. But if you want to come in a bit further, you can. Just maybe some people move in a little bit, That's good. So holding the breath, and there's also, if you want to, you can come over here. There's space over here. So holding the breath in is easier than holding the breath out. Holding the breath out actually is much harder because you've got no air, and also holding the breath out is harder still if you actually go for a jog or something like that. So what I'm going to do with my abdomen is similar to going for a jog, because I'm using quite intense abdominal muscles. It's lots and lots of fun. So that particular exercise, involving holding my breath out and manipulating the internal organs, is a very, very powerful exercise. And actually, almost all my practice, including all the asana work that I do, includes holding the breath out or holding the breath in, and doing either my breath held in like I demonstrated in the handstand, where all the air is compressed inside, which takes a lot of physical exertion, or holding the breath out and then making an expansion or a contraction like you saw me roll my abdomen just there and then. And in another day, or maybe some of you have seen, you can do this in various postures, including headstand, shoulder stand, standing poses, forward bends. It can be done in every pose. But to be able to do this, you're hardly breathing at all in your practice. Yet, when you do breathe in, it can be a full breath, and when you do breathe out, it can be a full breath out. So it's not like I'm saying breathing is bad, it's just most people breathe too much.